It would not surprise me if this goes to, an 10% higher and then 20% higher, because the real value of gold is going to be reflected outside of the Western controlled, manipulated markets. And also China wants the gold. Iran wants the gold. Russia wants the gold. If they can pull all that gold in away from the West, then that means there's more believability behind their new monetary system, especially if it's on the blockchain and you're able to review it in real time. And the settlements are on a ledger that is also visible to the public. Oh, London in trouble. Big trouble in New York. Gold's getting siphoned out of our world to the new BRICS banks, if you will, in Asia. I look at this gold, my favorite metal, the shiny. It's the thing that's going to keep you from losing your homes. It's going to be the thing that will allow you to keep other people in your homes if you have a little extra of it. As our currency inflates, hyperinflates, and the world moves away from the dollar. And we've seen the signaling everywhere. If you haven't seen it by now, I'm sorry, just not looking. The signaling is so clear. It's like just giant amount of fireworks in the sky. Things are shifting over to the new BRICS banks and the conglomeration of BRICS nations now in accordance that have formally joined, or those that are trying to and have applied to join, which will now be 60% of the world's GDP. And you're going to have something to back that currency so people believe it's worth something other than the barrel of a gun. Gold, that would be it. Has been for thousands of years, will be for thousands more. So why would I even bring this up as a topic to move with? Well, all the distraction that we're seeing, I could probably put this in as a 7th point of distraction. Or maybe this is what all the other stuff, the government shutdowns, Trump getting his business licenses revoked, all these types of things, Biden impeachment, maybe that's to deflect also from this. Not just the electromagnetic field changes, but also that our entire monetary system is being siphoned. And this is one of the most important stories, and I cannot believe it's not really even making business news. So the mask, first of all, is from Sanxingdui, which is Western China, 3,600 years ago. Made of gold, obviously gold leaf masks. The reason I'm telling you this is because in Shanghai, currently they're offering 6% over spot value on the London Metals Exchange, or New York pricing. COMEX pricing, well, they're $100 more per ounce. So see what that does is that allows an arbitrage opportunity where if you're going to get $100 more per ounce to sell in, you're going to move your gold over to Shanghai and skim that difference. And see, that's what it's doing. It's sending buyers, or I should say sellers, excuse me, over to China to exit their gold positions. It would not surprise me if this goes to, an 10% higher and then 20% higher. Because the real value of gold is going to be reflected outside of the Western controlled, manipulated markets. And also China wants the gold. Iran wants the gold. Russia wants the gold. If they can pull all that gold in away from the West, then that means there's more believability behind their new monetary system, especially if it's on the blockchain and you're able to review it in real time. And the settlements are on a ledger that is also visible to the public. The U.S. debt crisis could ignite a long-term rally in gold. Since March 2020, the U.S. added another $8 trillion in debt. BRICS nations met last month, and oil-rich nations, including Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, have joined Russia, China, and India. And 51% of Americans can't pay their credit card bills, which just surpassed $1 trillion for the first time in history. Call Patriot Gold Group today before it's too late. Patriot Gold Group has a no fee for life IRA where your IRA or 401k can be in physical gold or silver. No fee for life IRA on qualifying rollovers. Give them a call, 888-546-7020. And now on with the video. The public trust would be built straight into that, because then you could truly see How much gold is there? How much is in the reserves? How much is out on loan? How much is being used for swaps? Because if you go to Fort Knox in the United States, they haven't audited that thing in 40 years? There could be nothing under the tarp except some bars of lead, and we just wouldn't know. But having out for the world to see literally just gives the validity. So the price of London or the price of any other markets moving, and conjecture is, as they've already started to put some of these now, as of this morning's broadcast, it's $120 over. Now, that $100 was the day before yesterday. That's $1.20. Now, with the government shutdown, they're expecting this to go to $140 over per ounce. Then it starts to get a little interesting for people. So you're telling me that I can take the same 1 ounce of gold and get $140 more per ounce over in Shanghai. But if you have your private aircraft and you do have money and wealth of this proportion where you're taking thousands, plural, of ounces, would you not go put it in Shanghai under your name as a repository and take that extra bit of liquidity off of there? The storage of metals is you're going to watch that funnel. Everything's going to move over to Asia. Now, Shanghai is going to be the clearing for the gold predominantly. I'm not saying in any way, shape, or form all, but predominantly through this new, BRICS-aligned currency. A lot of that gold is going to remain in Shanghai, and the pricing for it on the world market. So as we march into Q4, at the end of it, they're looking for something like $200, $250, if not more, per ounce on the Shanghai exchange. Now, once you see this break from mechanized control, which we've had here in the U.S. and the other metals exchanges across the Western world to suppress the price, that's the only way you can manipulate currency, is if you suppress the gold value. Once that breaks and it starts to run to the real value, we could see it at $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 an ounce over in Shanghai if the price goes to the real value in the world for what it is. This price has been so suppressed for so long. And, I brought up Sanxing Dui also, and, to add a little bit of something interesting in history here that goes and correlates directly to China. 3,600 years before present, there was a society like the Mayans and like the Sumerians that just came out of nowhere, popped up, already advanced mathematics, engineering, law, the languages, etc., and then whoosh, just disappears 1,200 years after. Again, the Mayans follow that same copy paste. Came out of nowhere, advanced everything, and just disappeared. Sumerians, same thing. They were the first. Whoosh, they just had advanced. They even had law, contracts, and this sort of thing, and then poof, they're just gone. So what is it about these blips of history that they're there and they're gone? They're advanced setup, and there was no, there was nothing leading up to that advancement. They just completely intact society with everything that we understand is dropped in place, and then whoosh, they're out of there again. So this is Sanxing Dui. I encourage you to look into. The masks are a little freaky with the eyes, but they were into the gold also. And if you look at some of the mirrors, these are the bronze mirrors, they reflect something that definitely is interdimensional, perhaps. I don't know, just going there with the gold, because I was looking for gold masks to put into the imagery. So I've actually been to Sanxing Dui, and it's way out, since Sichuan province, way out west. Also, speaking of the precious metals, Mexico apparently has reached its maximum in terms of production. Now, Mexico, obviously, we're looking at one of the largest suppliers on the planet. So if their silver production has reached max capacity, and look, they're down 20%, then where does that leave us with, I'm just going to go buy silver when it gets more valuable and the control of manipulated prices breaks. I'm going to grab some just before it starts to skyrocket. Perhaps not. Vendors and those that were getting from the different mints around the world were struggling to, take supply in. And if you listen to Andy Schechtman and also with Mike Adams, a couple of interviews they've done together, especially this newest one, they were saying merely a few $1 billion going into the silver market to take physical possession could literally wipe out and take all available silver off the market. And we're not talking trillions of dollars to do it. We're talking billion, under $100 billion to scrape all the available physical silver off the markets right now. And if it was a coordinated effort by governments to do such a thing, And those moneyed families, they were trying to fill a $100 million order, and they struggled to get all of those, Liberty rounds that we have from the U.S. Mint. There's real bottlenecks right now in terms of silver, and the Libertads also, if you're looking at the spot price versus what you're going to have to pay for some overage on that. No, it's crazy. It's more than what it is for the Liberties here in the States, the Eagles, especially on the gold end too. And the reason I say that, this is so bizarre and so should send up like 16 red flags here. Costco is now offering Swiss gold 1 ounce bars. And that's not a misstatement. It's on the Costco website, and it's in SA, which means they've weighted, they've assigned a number to that specific bar. So there should be a QR code on the back there that you could scan that, and that bar should match up with the number in the depository or in their online system there. PAMP, great products, by the way. PAMP silver bars, 10 ounce, they're all SA too. They come with their little card on the back that shows the amount, the SA, and also the numbered bar that was stamped into that. But for Costco to go start offering 1 ounce bars of gold, which immediately sell out apparently. They stay online for 3 to 4 hours and then they're sold out. And then they say, oh, we're sold out, limit 1 per customer. So what is it? The entire world's shifting to gold. The entire, what we call Western world's gold is being siphoned to what is a better term of Asia and Eurasia to start a new currency, to debase the dollar and dethrone it. But at the same time, one of the most publicly traded companies and most publicly used companies to buy prepping in large scale for your foodstuffs, etc., now offering gold, that's a big one right there. Absolutely gigantic signal. If you can't see it, the whole system's moving to gold and metals. It is. At this point, I didn't, once I saw this, I'm like, yep. It's absolutely now at the retail level where they're giving you enough signaling that those of you on the retail level should see that it's moving to a gold standard and moving to a metals-backed world. So, what else could be distracted away from here? Because, this amount of distraction all occurring in the same week is just astoundingly gargantuan. From that first slide of the show with the impeachment, removal of Trump's businesses, government shutdown, all these things happening right now. Well, here's another one. Now, when I saw this here, the dollar crash, okay, you keep hearing this. I've heard the same thing for 10 years. Dollar crash is imminent, dollar crash is imminent. I've heard it a decade. So when I see these articles, literally a grain of salt, but literally a grain of salt, like Himalayan rock salt, which used to be worth its weight in gold, by the way, traded across Africa. So these things have a lot of historical precedent. U.S. bonds on the market are not selling. So this one would say overnight there was zero offer. So that's pretty easy to double check. So I thought, okay, I'm watching the chart there. I'm thinking, is there a zero offer? Like, really? Because what it means, if there's a zero offer, the government's going to buy that all back, just printing money to inflate it away to buy back our own debt because nobody bought it, to make it appear that there's still some wanting for it. And also the 20-year bond just lost, 54% of its value. So this is the most stable asset on the planet. So it's just interesting in Basel III that they reclassified gold into a tier 1 asset. At the same time, the treasuries are declining in value as an asset from the United States. There's that balance. And it seems like the teeter-totter is going to go on the side of the heavy, shiny yellow stuff over there, when this is just numbers on a screen. But they're looking at the 20-year treasury going from 6.3 down to 2.9. That's a huge drop. That's why these companies can't sell their bonds and exit when they need actual liquidity, because if they were to sell, they would lose 54% of their entire holdings, whatever that amount was, and they can't do that. That's a loss. That's why there's so many banks and so many corporations in trouble, because when you see this drop that precipitously, 54%, you're going to exit at a 50% loss? But they need the liquidity, and then they're out on the repo market. Then they're out for the emergency funding market from the Fed. It all kind of spins in. So anybody can do this. So if they're going to offer treasuries, if you go off to Treasury News, they'll show you the offering size, the percent of the offering, and then what the tendered was is like how much they were going to give out, and then the accepted is how much was actually bought. And I circled, or I put the blue box in the bottom there. So at least this last offering here, and they were going to what, 2.094%, and they consider that high yield. And it started off somewhere around 1 3/8%, something like that, and moved up. And total then, if you're looking at 36 billion on offer and only 15 billion was accepted, again, that's less than a 50% buy rate. So see the difference in that there, that extra 21 billion is going to have to be made up somewhere. Our U.S. Treasuries, the Fed's just going to print the money, and it's going to go into the national debt, and it'll appear as if that has been bought back. So to go back 2 slides here, that there was 0 offers. Now that might be very well true, but somewhere between that 0 offers, somebody stepped in and picked up half of it. Now maybe that accepted half was actually our own backdoors of the dealers coming in and buying it back themselves. You just don't know, because they don't give you that information. They just say it is accepted. So this is the nefarious thing, the way that you see, they have to sell this first before they can issue more money to make that debt go up so we can keep operating our government. Without this bond issuance and sale, everything stops. And it's all predicated, and it really, really depends on if anybody will continue to buy our debt, because it makes no sense if Treasury puts out the offering and nobody buys, and then we just print the money to buy it all back. That's Banana Republic Zimbabwe style. No offense to Zimbabwe, but you had some terrible leaders down there that took you down a bad road of hyperinflation and did the same exact thing here. It's the leaders of the nation that always put the countries in chaos. You know, we need real leaders that are going to bring us back from this abyss. But it seems like the abyss getting pushed over the edge is part of the plan here. So again, you can backtrack some of these details, and you can always look at every single Treasury auction, offering, acceptance here. Just go to Treasury News, every single one of them, every day, every night that they put out issuance, they'll roll through this. But you know, they're putting out like 36 billion per evening now, which is huge, because by the end of the week, you're getting up hundreds of billions of dollars per week. You know, that's why you can see how quickly and why so quickly our national debt keeps rising. Do this times 5, and you're already up at almost 200 billion over 1 week. 4 weeks, you're up another almost trillion. Give it 5 weeks and you're up $1 trillion. And it's going to continue to accelerate, where it'll be more than $1 trillion a week. And where's the interest payments coming in? They can't get enough from tax dollars. So we've reached that rollover point. It's unpayable now. Even with the GDP of the United States and all of the tax receipts coming in, it's impossible to even pay back the interest. See, this is why at this point, it's moving gold over to a new system, because this system can't exist any longer. It's actually rolled past the break point. And that's why a lot of those economists were saying that 33 billion, once you hit that, there's no coming back. You can't. The system as you understand it is in bankruptcy at that point. There's no way to pay the debt back. You can't actually earn or make enough to pay back just the interest. That's where we sit. So, you know, something like this. And, you know, I applaud some of our politicians for taking a harder stance on some things. You know, there's some pork barrel ridiculousness. There always is in these spending bills to push through. They always attach everything to the bottom. They need to have a specific set of votes for spending, and then each of those projects need to have their own separate vote. And I bet like 90% of them would never pass. But they get tacked on to the bottom of this, and they do it every single year, every single time there's a government spending bill come in. Things that would never, ever pass on their own right because they're too ridiculous, get stuck in on this. But Rand Paul's and his group over there of people that are holding out on the vote are very, 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 very clean on this. The Ukraine spending comes out, or this continues shut down indefinitely. And they're doing it for a purpose, to bring it to the forefront of why is so much money being spent in Ukraine with zero visible results. Our own people at home during a government shutdown not being paid, but the workers and government employees in Ukraine still receiving and continuing to receive salaries, as our own U.S. citizens are stuck without money or pay. And just in the last 2 minutes here, I rambled a little too long on some points. What's going to stop when the government shuts down? Okay, the jobs report. See, they could use this as at least a 2 or 3 month delay on having to release economic information, because every time they release, they downgrade it later on a couple months later anyway. So this gives them a good 3 month window of not having to report any data. So during the shutdown, even if it shuts down for a week, they're going to be like, well, it was delaying the reporting and we can get back when there's a catch up period for a month. And 3 months into the future, we'll report this month's job data. And that would be economic data too. So it gives them a perfect window. The longer it goes on, the longer they don't have to report bad economic news to the US populace. Federal Reserve, I don't even know why this is there, because it's not federal. And it's not a reserve. It is a private corporation. So I don't understand. The government shutdown has nothing to do with a private company. Federal Reserve's private. You know that, right? They use the name federal, but it's not federal. Private corporation. And here's the thing. A shutdown would create increased risk with FEMA. And see, that dovetails right back into New York City. They are going to get hammered beyond anything that they thought for the amount of rainfall coming down. And once the relief funds are depleted, they're not going to get any new relief funds. So in the terms of New York City, then how does that affect them? And also the issuance of loans under the Small Business Administration. So, you know, census data, whatever, small businesses, who cares? We get to delay for another 3 months. Because it's going to, once they shut down, like you've seen those government shutdowns before, they take forever to come back. In the last seconds here, there is a massive cold front coming that is bizarro freeze-land, and this will be here on October 10th. And they're going to get below freezing temperatures down in central Mississippi as early as October 10th. So if you have anything in your garden, you're going to have to go out and buy some row cover right now to get ready for this, and get your stakes out and get your hoops out and get ready to protect anything you're growing that you want to keep through. Like even things that grow in the fall, like your fall garden, it's going to get wiped out on this hard freeze, Anyway, I thank you for spending your time. David Dubine signing off. Many Ice Age Conversations. Bright to you on TV. See you next time. Bye for now.